So completing an unprecedented 10 million immigration cases in fiscal year 2023, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services has finally started to reduce its backlog for the first time in over a decade. Well, better late than never, I guess. According to USCIS report, in fiscal year 2023, USCIS received 10.9 million filings and completed more than 10 million pending immigration cases, both record-breaking numbers in the agency's history. In doing so, the Immigration Service reduced overall backlogs by 15%. Among USCIS's record number of case completions in fiscal year 2023, the agency administered the oath of allegiance to more than 878,500 new United States citizens, including 12,000 members of the U.S. military who became U.S. citizens, and effectively eliminated the backlog of all naturalization applications. The average processing time now for naturalization applications decreased from close to 1 year to now 6.1 months, achieving the Immigration Service's longstanding goal of significantly reducing waiting times. And historically, 6 months is all it's been taking for naturalization. So naturalization is happening pretty fast. As a matter of fact, if you probably file your citizenship right now, the next few weeks, you'd probably be a citizen before the presidential election. If you wait another month or two, probably your citizenship will be after the election. You won't be able to vote. So if you want to vote for Biden or Trump, I would file your citizenship if you're eligible in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, even though immigration is reducing their backlog, the state of Florida leads the United States in immigration court backlog cases. According to the Tampa Bay Times. Now, according to the Tampa Bay Times, the Syracuse University's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, the United States court backlog has surged past 3 million cases in the last year. That means more than 3 million people have pending deportation cases. Those include people who are getting deported for criminal activity. Those include people who are possibly getting deported for just overstaying their visa. And those also include people who are asylum seekers and people who are otherwise seeking permanent residency through the immigration courts. Now, of all the states, the backlog in Florida is more than 481,000 people with a pending deportation case. And that is a massive jump compared to the year 2012. That was 12 years ago, when there was 17,000 pending deportation cases in the immigration court in Florida. Went from 17,000 to 481,000 pending cases. That means courts are not completing cases, obviously, and there's a lot more people getting put in deportation than the courts can handle. Now, the 4 states with the next highest number of backlog cases is Texas, 458,630 pending deportation cases. California, 348,138 pending deportation cases. New York, 344,505 deportation cases. And Illinois with a pending 211,096 deportation cases. That means nobody's getting deported that quickly here right now. The backlog is attributed to several factors, including a growing number of asylum applications and appeals, cases from previous years remaining open, pending deportation cases, people making motions to reopen their completed deportation cases, and add to this a shortfall in the federal immigration budget, which has affected the timely resolution of many applications in the immigration courts. In 2023, federal authorities made more than 2.2 million arrests at the United States-Mexico border. That is the most ever recorded, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. In its budget proposal for 2024, the U.S. Justice Department requested close to $1.5 billion to hire 150 new immigration judges and 948 new permanent employees to try to reduce this backlog. Meanwhile, when they do try to reduce the backlog, people also complain. 21 new immigration judges have been hired to start working in a new immigration court in Concord, California. So this court is going to serve northern and central California, including Alameda County, San Joaquin County, Solano County, and Contra Costa. If you are going to court in Concord, California, your case is going to go pretty fast. They have 21 new immigration judges with nothing to do there. And some advocates are concerned that the cases are going to go too fast and people are not going to have access to lawyers and not have access to prepare or time to prepare for their cases. So when people complain they're not getting their hearings fast enough, and then immigration hires some judges, and now the complaints are, at least in Concord, California, those cases are coming in way too fast. And USCIS announced strengthening integrity measures for their H-1B program. On January 30th, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced the initial registration period for the H-1B cap will open at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on March 6th, 2024. It's in about 2 weeks. And it's going to run through 12 noon on March 22nd, 2024. And during this period, prospective petitioners and their representatives must use an online account to register every beneficiary electronically for the selection process for the H-1B visa lottery. The Immigration Service this year is also going to try to reduce the potential for fraud in the H-1B registration process. People were trying to game the system by submitting more than one application to win the lottery. And the way they're going to do this is they are going to make a beneficiary-centric process where registrations will be selected by unique beneficiary rather than by a registration number. And this new process is designed to reduce the potential for fraud and ensure each beneficiary would have the same chance of being selected for the H-1B lottery, regardless of the number of registrations submitted on their behalf by an employer. And starting also in 2025, USCIS will also require registrants to provide valid passport information and valid travel document information for each applicant in the H-1B lottery. The passport or travel document provided must be the one the beneficiary will be using to enter the United States. And each beneficiary must only be registered under one passport. And USCIS is also clarifying requirements to permit filing with requested start dates after October 1st, if required. And we have some news in temporary protected status. 3 countries have been extended and redesignated for temporary protected status. A country may be designated for temporary protected status when conditions in the country fall into one or more of the 3 statutory bases for designation, which would be an ongoing armed conflict, environmental disaster, or an extraordinary and temporary condition. And just recently, USCIS extended TPS designation for Syria through September 30th, 2025, Sudan through April 19th, 2025, and Ukraine through April 19th, 2025. And on February 14th, President Biden issued an official White House memorandum on the deferred enforced departure for certain Palestinians and has directed the Secretary of Homeland Security to defer for at least 18 months the removal of any Palestinian who is present in the United States on the date of the memorandum, which is February 14th, 2024. Now, there's some exceptions. There will be some Palestinians who are going to get deported anyway, who pose a security threat or have some serious criminal issues. But otherwise, most Palestinians will have their deportation suspended for at least 18 months because of what's going on in the Middle East. And California, congratulations. You have become the first state to offer health insurance to all undocumented immigrants. California welcomed the new year by becoming the first state to offer health insurance for all undocumented immigrants. As of January 1st, all undocumented immigrants, regardless of age, will qualify for Medi-Cal, which is California's version of the federal Medicaid program for people with low income or no income. Previously, undocumented immigrants were not qualified to receive comprehensive health insurance, but were allowed only to receive emergency and pregnancy-related services. Now they can receive regular medical care, and if they're unable to pay for it, Medi-Cal will. And from the bookshelves of my personal library, I want to bring forth a book by Harold Holzer, Abraham Lincoln and American Immigration. And the reason I do this is because just this past Monday, it was President's Day. Originally established in 1885 in recognition of President George Washington and his February 22nd birthday. The holiday also recognizes President Abraham Lincoln and his birthday on February 12th. It is not just a day to get discounts in major department stores. It is also a day to celebrate all of the presidents of the United States. And since we talk a lot about the border and immigration and politics, I thought it would be appropriate to shine a spotlight on the book titled Brought Forth on the Continent, Abraham Lincoln and American Immigration. It was written by Abraham Lincoln historian and Lincoln Prize winner Harold Holzer. It just was released by Penguin Random Books, and it is a unveiling of Lincoln's legacy and the remarkable similarities between the 19th century and the 21st as it relates to immigration. It is a groundbreaking account of Lincoln's grappling with the politics of immigration against the backdrop of the Civil War. In the 3 decades before the Civil War, some 10 million foreign-born people settled in the United States of America, forever altering the nation's demographics, their culture, and perhaps most significantly, voting patterns. America's newest residents fueled the national economy, but they also wrought enormous changes in the political landscape and exposed an ugly, at times violent, nativist bigotry. The book charts Lincoln's political career through a lens of immigration, from his role as a member of an increasingly nativist political party to his evolution into an immigration champion, a progression that would come at the same time as he refined his views on abolition and Black citizenship, a progression that ultimately allowed him to defeat the South and become one of the most effective presidents in the history of the United States of America. As Holzer writes about Abraham Lincoln, who we just celebrated last week, the Civil War could not have been won without Lincoln's leadership, but it could not have been fought without the immigrant soldiers who served, and by the tens of thousands who died so that the United States might live. And finally, here's some good news out of California. The University of California Davis Police Department recently hired its first officer who is a DACA recipient. The opportunity was made possible by a new 1-year-old California state law, Senate Bill 960, that repealed the United States citizenship requirement to become a peace officer in the state. In December, Officer Ernesto Moran was sworn in. He was born in Jalisco, Mexico, and came to the United States when he was just 5 years old. His family came to this country with hopes for a better life. Moran recently told Cal Matters, "I was always told to be afraid of police officers because I would get deported. Now I want to help this community and help other people that are in my same shoes." Before the law took effect, California, like most states, had required its peace officers to be U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents who had applied for citizenship. State law SB 960 makes applicants with federal work authorization eligible to become officers. Supporters said the new law would make an effective recruiting tool at a time of persistent patrol officer shortages. University of California Davis Police Chief Joe Farrow swore Moran in as a law enforcement officer after months of advocating for him. Said Farrow, "They are part of our community. They go to school here. They learn here. They teach here. So having undocumented police officers was the next step into completing the idea of representing our community." Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.